the mini project which covers the major functionalities which we generally use in the normal real time. It will cover most of the important functionalities. Okay, so what we do is in this mini project, we'll consider two tables, the invoice header as well as invoice line. These are the two tables which I try to use, and these are the custom tables. Okay, and in this one there will be two pages. There will be two pages. So one is search page, okay, and other one is invoice DML page. So what we do in the search page is we'll try to provide a search functionality, and we'll also try to provide a button for the purpose of create, update, view, as well as delete. Okay, and now whenever user clicks on create or either clicks on view or clicks on update, what we do is we'll try to open the same page, the invoice DML page, in appropriate mode. Nothing but if he clicks on create, it will open the page in the create mode, and if he clicks on update, we'll open the page in the update mode, and if he clicks on view, we'll open the page in the view mode. Now the difference here, if you observe, is so here the major functionalities, the what are the major important OAF functionalities which are covered as part of this particular mini project is the first thing is the EO based DML operations we'll try to cover up, and also we'll try to show you how do you perform the PPR and the spell logic, okay, and the page navigation with parameters, and also we'll try to show you how do you provide the attachments. Like this particular information will get stored in the FND docs, FND documents, okay. And the events, the basic events like your button or hyperlink events, these things, okay. And even the search functionality again we covered here. And if possible, we can, okay. The remaining functionality what we do is we'll try to work on as independent, or maybe we can also include them. How do you show the DFF also we can show up. Again, it becomes too heavy for this page, so we can make this one. Okay. If possible, we can also try to design a report. We'll try to attach a report functionality also. Okay. So these are the functionalities which we'll try to cover up for this particular project. Okay. And now first thing what we do is we'll try to design the pages. We'll try to design two independent pages. Okay. So let's take let's start designing the pages here. One is search invoice page, other one is invoice DML page. Okay. So here what I will try to do is we'll try to start from the fresh, nothing but we'll have the AM. As of now we'll have the AM, and then we'll have to design the pages. Okay. And the page and the package structure which I'll try to use is XX-Mini or P dot app dot SLE dot set. Okay. Okay. Now let's create the aim. So I have the existing workspace in the project. So what we can do is we can also create an existing itself. So I'll just perform right click on the existing project here. New, for new, area business component and application notes. And click on next. And here mention the package structure. And here I'll just mention the AM. Okay. XX-Mini, Oracle Access Server, and Mini Project AM. And let's click on next. And nothing to change, simply click on next and finish. That's it. Okay. And on the same way, we'll create a page, create the pages on the project, mention the right click, OA components and page, and here mention the package structure, the UI, and say search invoice page, PG, sorry, search INV EG. Again mention the right click here and click one more page. Invoice DML page. Okay. Now we have created two pages here, and now let's start with the search page. So in the search page, what we do is first of all try to set the default properties on the page. Click on a region 1, main region, name definition, set the name definition. Okay. So on the main region, set the controller also, the key controller. Okay. Now set the properties on the invoice Gmail page also. Click on the invoice Gmail page, main region, set the name definition. Yeah. So the pages are done. Like yeah, sorry. Create the controller also here, the key controller. Okay. So we have created an AM. We have created pages and their controllers. Just run the page and see how they work, and we can add up the functionality now once they are successful. Okay. Click on OK. One minute. I just need some code. Okay. Yeah. So this is our search page. As of now, I have not added any functionality at all. Just a simple dummy page. And just see the other page also. It will look like a dummy stuff. Okay. It's a demo page. So now what we do is let's write the logic in the search page now. So in the search invoice page, what we do is in the search invoice page, what we want to do is we want to add up these buttons: create, update, view, as well as delete. And even we require yeah, that's it. So first of all, let's have a create button. Let's have a create button and see how it works. Okay, how do we navigate from one page to another page? Or else what we can do is instead of that, let us say as it is a search page, we want to show the list of data, right? So what we do is, as of now, we try to create the view. So here, like we would like to put one more thing is within the search page, we'll try to provide the delete functionality also. Create, view, and update will be provided in the invoice label page, and delete functionality as well as the search functionality will be provided in the search invoice page itself. And what is the preferable option? Like when you want to provide, like as you know that if you want to perform any DML operation, they require entity object. Okay, so for that one, what we do is we try to create entity object and we also try to create a view object based on it. Okay, so let's create the entity object as well as view object on the invoice header table. So perform a right click on the project, new, retail business component, entity object, click on next, collapse, next one is the model server. Okay, so this has to show the list. Okay, now mention the EO name. If you say INV, header EO, click on next. Nothing to change, you simply click on next. Enter the default view object also, and here select the appropriate one. Mention the appropriate package sector and the EO view. Okay, click on next and finish. Okay, so the view got created. Assign the view to the event. Assign the view to the event and click on apply and OK. Now what we do is on the search invoice page, on the main region, perform a right click and create a new region. Okay, and we'll just say search data region. Let us say invoice data region. Let's say invoice data. Now on this invoice data region, perform a right click and click on new region using the wizard. Click on next and select the AM. Select the Vivo. Click on next. Click on the printing style as table here. Table region. Click on next. Select the column here. Description, filters, all those things. Next. And we'll make them as style text only, because within the search page we don't want user to perform any DML operation, even though this is capable enough to perform DML. Right. Okay. Now within the search page, what we do is, as of now, like we'll try to show the data on by default, like when the user opens the page, by default we'd like to show his data. Nothing but what we require is that we have to initialize the demo. So click on the AM and then click on the AM IMPL, write the installation logic here. Okay. Now we'll just click, go to search invoice page for receiver and write the installation logic. Call the installation logic. Let us call it as init header. Okay. That's on the typecast here. That's it. Okay. Now we're able to see the data, and what we do is we'll try to provide all the button functionalities now. Okay. So initially we'll try to work on the create functionality. we'll just have a create button. Okay. Now what we do is click on the search invoice page, and here on this particular table region, click on the right click and click on new table actions, and in this region 1, click on new item. So I'll just change it to submit button. That's it. Now let's handle this particular functionality in the search invoice area. So whenever user clicks on search invoice button, let's see what we do. Create not equal to null. So now we have to navigate to the invoice-DML page. We have to navigate to the invoice-DML page. So for this one, we have to use an API called PageNavigation-With. Or maybe there are different ways, but this is one of the easiest ways. We'll try to use this one here. Page forward URL. And now we have to mention the page path. We have to mention the page path. So in our case, what is the page path of the invoice-DML page? So we have run already, right? So just copy this one. And here what we do is, it shows a list of extra the total path, but it does not require all this information. So till where we require is, this required OA.jsp question mark page is equal to the page path. That is a valid page path. The remaining is just appended by error when you run the page. So this is the exact information what we require. OA.jsp question mark page is equal to the total page path. Copy this one and now mention here. Mention here. Okay. Now this is what we do. When a user clicks on create page, we'll try to navigate to the invoice-DML page. Okay. So now what we want to do in the invoice-DML page. So in the invoice-DML page, we want the user to mention. We want the user to mention the total invoice header information. As of now, we are working on only the header part. Lines part will work later. So now, first of all, write the functionality in the invoice-DML page also. So what we do is go to invoice-DML page. In the invoice-DML page, perform a right click and click on new region. Okay, and let's just say invoice header data. Okay, invoice header data. So the invoice header data, perform a right click and click on new region using a wizard. Click on next, select the AM, select the Vivo, the same Vivo. Click on next, and but here we does not want the table region. What we require is in the invoice header in the DML page. At a time, user can update all the data of only single invoice. So what we do is I'll select default double column layout. Okay. Default double column updatable region. Click on next. Select the columns here. Click on next, next, and finish. Okay. Now, one more thing is, in this invoice-DML page, as of now, we'll try to cover two functionalities. One is save as well as cancel. On the main region, perform a right click and click on new region, and just set this file as page button bar. Set the region set as page button bar, and so on this particular page button bar, I'll just perform a right click and click on new item. And then save button, and save one more button. New item. Cancel. Save as well as cancel. Okay. And here, so when a user clicks on save, we have to complete the data. When the user clicks on cancel, we have to navigate back to the search page. So these two functionalities we have to write in the CO of the invoice page, right? So I'll just copy the same code. So go to the invoice-DML CO. In the process form request, what we do? So let's write the logic for the cancel. When user clicks on cancel, so we have to navigate back to search invoice page. So The same package texture, only thing is you just require the page name. That's it. Search invoice page. So I just mentioned search invoice page. That's it. And now when I select on save, you just need to comment the data. I will say page context dot. Okay. And just simply comment. That's it. Okay. And now, one more thing what we have to do is when I just comes to this invoice DML page, we have to initialize the VO because by default, the fields, what are the fields which will be shown on the page, we have to make sure that user can enter the data and user can save the data. So before that, let's see let's run the page and see what exactly will happen now. Click on search invoice page and run it. Now we have a button called create. Just click on this create button. Now can you see here we have navigated back to the invoice DML page, and now we have all the information here, the invoice header details, and now we have save as well as cancel button. So if you use press on cancel, you will navigate back to the search page. Now let's try to click on create again. Now we'll be navigating to DML page. Now just try to click on save and see what will happen now. So it says data saved successfully, but actually we have not entered any data, but still it says the data saved. But observe one more thing now. Let us say if I enter any data here. Let us say if I enter any data here and click on save here, and can you see what it is saying? The Vivo object contains no record. The Vivo object contains no record. This particular Vivo does not have any record. So it means that as per the OAF framework functionality, whenever you're trying to enter any data in a particular field, and if this particular field belongs to a VIVO, that VIVO has to be initialized. It has to have the row. Okay, it has at least it has to be executed, or it has to have a row which is initialized. So we have to manually create a new row for this one when a user comes to this particular page. So for that one, what we require is let us go to the AM. So first of all, we require the row until also. Click on the VIVO here. Click on the Java, generate row until, apply, and OK. Go to the AM here and now write the logic. Initialize. Okay. So this is how you can insert a new row into the view. And you can also initialize some set of parameters like you want to generate the header ID or you want to set the status. Just in the one distance. So row dot set header set status. Let us just show it as chart by default. And you can also generate the what you say the sequence for the header ID purpose. What you can do is, I think you can have a sequence. Yeah, this is a sequence. You can just use this particular sequence here. Okay. Okay. Now what we do is just create a number variable. Okay. And now we go dot set header ID. Row dot invoice header ID and header ID. That's it.
Stephen, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
What is that field name? That set invoice header ID is that invoice header ID column?
Yes.
And no, I'm just trying to understand how are you assigning this sequence to this
Okay.
particular
I'll
column?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. 1 minute. I'll show you. See the logic here is, so now if you observe, for a given table, XXCS invoice header, what are the components we have? We have the EO as well as we have the VO, right? So now in the Vivo we have the Vivo impl.java as well as we also have the Vivo raw impl.java. So in the Vivo raw impl.java, what happens is for each and every field, for each and every attribute or a column which is available in the Vivo, it will have a set as well as get method. For every row, it will have a set as well as get method. I mean to say for every column. So the Vivo will have a set of columns. So for each column, you will have a set and get method available in the Vivo row impl. So if you try to try to understand this one, and simple thing I can tell you is, let us say consider PL SQL. In the PL SQL, let us say you have a cursor C underscore EM. Then start from EMP. Now in the begin section, when you perform, let us say when you perform fetch operation into what we do, we have to mention a record variable. Like let us say R underscore EMP. Now this R underscore EMP has to be part of a EMP record, isn't it? EMP percentile, isn't it? So now this R underscore EMP should be part of this particular EMP row. So the same way in a OA framework, now if you consider the Vivo as a cursor, if you want to create a new row or if you want to get an existing row, always the appropriate variable should belong to the Vivo. I mean this is the data type. The data type of this particular row should be of part of Vivo row IMP. Because when you want to fetch a cursor, this particular record variable also should belong to your cursor data type, right? What are the columns your cursor is written in? This record variable also should have the same set of columns. The same way this Vivo row will also will have the same set of columns. I mean to say, like when you're trying to fetch a row or when you want to update a row, we require the same Vivo row impl. How it is generated is it is generated by default. Now if you observe here, like, we generated that we generated row impl in a very simple manner. So just double click on the Vivo and click on the Java. So when you just click on generate Java file, it will simply generate the row here. Can you see here? View row class.
Okay.
And now if you see here, now for a given Vivo we have three files. One is XML, one is Vivo MPL Java, other one is Vivo row MPL.java.
Okay.
And in the row MPL, if you observe, just double click on this one, row MPL, you will have all the columns. You have all the columns. But from where we got all these columns? From the Vivo definition. So if you double click on the Vivo on the SQL statement, it will show the list of columns which we have on the select field. So for each and every column, we generally call it as attributes. For each and every attribute, we will have the set as well as get method. So now invoice header ID, invoice number, amount. For everything, we will have a set as well as get method, and we generally call them as accessors. Can you see? Now get amount, set amount. Every column will have a get as well as set method. Get as well as set.
Okay.
So now in the AMIPL, what we have done is like we created a row. Can you see? We created a row and assigned to the row object. We created a row and assigned the row object. So before assigning the row to the VO, we want to set some default parameters, default values, and after that just insert the row. At line number 25, I'm inserting the row. Before that, I'm just setting some of the values like a set status as well as set header ID. So set is a generic term, and after that I have to mention the column name. Set followed by column name. So by default it will generate the code like that. So just set and followed by just mention the column name.
Okay.
Now
That
this
means the
will,
status is the column name, right?
yeah, status is a column name, and here also invoice header ID is a column name. INV header ID is a
Okay.
column name.
Got it.
And this is not exactly a database column, but it's our Java attribute. But it will be, like it will be similar to your database column only. Why? Because if you have underscores in the column, automatically they will be converted. If you observe the SQL statement, so my column name, the database column name is invoice underscore header ID. But in the Java attribute name, it is just the invoice header ID, INV header ID. This underscores got converted automatically. I mean this is the alias. The alias will be automatically modified by the Java.
Okay.
Now, can you see it? See, invoice underscore number become invoice NUM without any underscore. Can you see it? The attribute name.
Right.
So it is
Yes.
referring to this particular only. We can also have either way, but generally in the Java will not have underscores in the variable names.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now call this method from the invoice DML CBO. The process request method. We have to call this method from the process request. Why? Because by default, when a user comes to this particular page, we have to initialize. We have to initialize the data. We have to initialize the row so that whatever the data which is entered by the user. Okay. Now let's run the page. Okay. Now just click on create, and we got one more issue. What exactly it is telling us? We have inserted a row. We have inserted a Java row using the Vivo. We have inserted a row into the Vivo. Okay. And similarly, when you're trying to insert any row into the Vivo, the underlying Vivo has to be executed. Without insertion of without executing the Vivo, we don't insert any row in the Vivo. But the logic here is, so there is one way we can suppress this particular error also. Now what we do is, so here before creating a row, or maybe before inserting, what we can do is we just mention a method called view.setMaxSize as 0. So now here what exactly it is telling us, if you observe, the OAF framework classification standard has been violated and it is not prepared for row insertion. So what exactly it is telling us, this Vivo is not prepared for creating a new row. So for that one, what you can do is either you execute the Vivo or you simply call a method called setMaxFixSize. Okay. So then this will solve the issue. And it clearly just mention the setMaxFixSize before insertion of the row. Before insertion of the row. Okay.
Okay.
Now, but what is the problem if I execute the Vivo? The thing functionality here is, if you observe, so in the search page as well as in this page, I'm using the same Vivo. If you observe, in the search page as well as in this page also, I'm trying to use the same Vivo. Isn't it? Cancel. Now if I click on create, sorry. See what I'm saying is, in the search page, I'm using the same Vivo which I'm executing by default. And when I click on create, I'm using the same Vivo and trying to insert the data into the same Vivo. But
Okay.
here in this page, I'm not executing, right? I'm not calling the execution method. I'm not calling the execution method. So now just I added a new line, right? I added this line number 21 here. Vivo.set max fix size 0, and now let's run the page. See, like when you are trying to design the page, we don't want to increase the number of components, right? We can also have another VO, but generally we don't prefer to increase the number of components. We have to reuse wherever it is required. Now just click on create and just see whether it works or not. Can you see? That's it. No error. We'll try to generate invoice number also. Yeah, currency. Okay. Now click on save. Just click on cancel. And can you see the invoice number 25?
Okay.
Right. Now again try. Again try. Click on create. So now it is 26. I'll say invoice as 26. Okay. Save and cancel. Okay. 26. Okay. And now the other function which we would like to provide now is the delete function. Okay. So deletion, what we do is deletion will try to delete from here itself. In the search page itself, we can provide a delete functionality. Just have the radio button and just have the button. One is radio item on the each and every row, and we just have the delete button. Okay. So what we do is go to search invoice page, search invoice, and here on this region one, table action region one, just have a delete button. New item, section, and we require transient attributes because we want to have a radio item on each and every row. So go to the VO and click on attributes, click on new, and just have a color flag. Applicable always, click on OK and apply. And OK. The search invoice page, on the table within platform, the right click, new, single selection, and select the VO as well as Alphabet. Select that. Okay. Now let's write the logic for the deletion in the EMI here. So this deletion, I think we have discussed, we have written already, but let's start again. Delete. Okay, this will give you the selected rows, but as per our functionality, it should be only one row, right? It will be only one row, isn't it? Okay. It does not require any looping. Simply we can mention rows of 0. In the Java, the index starts from 0. Okay. So now row.remove will remove the data from the VO, and now you can just mention the commit. So this will delete the data from database also, and now you can display the message. Okay. This is if the user just clicks on delete row without selecting any row, we just need to raise an exception. So this call this method from the user of the search page. Now this will give you the data, the selected show. Let's run the page. Okay. Now it shows a radio button on each and every row, and now just select the appropriate row. Let us select the which was invoice iterated file. Just click on delete. Right? It got deleted. Remove the row. Now just click on delete without selecting any row and see what is the error being displayed. Right? Please select the row for deletion. This is the other images. Okay.
How to add some validation? Let's say before delete, I want to validate something, or before delete, I want to insert this data into another table.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what we can do is, if you observe, now let us say when insert flex on delete, we have clearly find out what is the method we are calling, right? So now before calling this deletion logic, like this is my deletion logic, right? Row dot remove. This is my deletion logic. So before performing row dot remove, what you do is you get the information, you get all the information. Now we know what is the invoice number, right? Let us say now before removing the row, now we want to catch up the invoice number and get invoice number. And now what you can do, you can write the logic here. That you can call any of the PLC or whatever the logic you want to call it. Call the logic for inserting your data. And after that you just remove it and submit. Got it?
Okay.
What we can do is, let us say, assume that whenever result clicks on delete row, what we want to do is, let us we want to catch up the total invoice information and add up into some particular temporary table. So what we do, so here have a temporary table and everything, and just add up all the information here, add up all the information, and then perform the delete. After that, you just perform the delete functionality, row dot remove and submit.
Okay. But if there is any exception, let's say you are committing the transaction, at that time it's giving some PLC equal exception,
Okay.
but how will you handle that exception here?
Okay, even to the PLC level. Okay. So now one thing is here, when you're calling any PLC so it will return a status, right? It has to return a status, right? And see, the thing is, in a PLC, when you're calling any of the PLC procedure, what you have to do is you always have to return a status. You have to return the status because it can be a it can be your business rule exception, or it can be a normal Oracle exception, right? Whatever it is. So you have to handle the exception and return the status using your out parameter. Return the status using your out parameter. And this particular out parameter, what we do is, let us say, if your out parameter is so and so, if your out is success, then only I will remove the row here. Or maybe let us say if your out is failure, simply raise an exception there itself. I mean to say here. I mean to say, if your out is a failure, if out is a failure, raise an exception here. So it will not go further here. It will get stopped here itself. Line number 33 itself will get stopped. So it will not perform the remove functionality at all.
Okay. But let's say when you're creating a new record, right, there is one mandatory column, user didn't enter it, but that exception, you have to handle it in Java, right? It's not a PLC exception, right?
Right. See, one basic thing if you observe here, let us say I'll show you. Let's click on create, and now this is the primary key. Let us remove this and just see what will
Okay.
happen if you click on save. Can you see?
Okay.
So, but we can handle all this and everything. See, now as per the database metadata, only invoice header ID is the primary key, which is a not null parameter. As per the database, invoice header ID is only a not null value, so that is why it is giving an exception. But let us say you want to make invoice number, currency, and all the things as mandatory. Let us assume that we want to make all the remaining columns like currency, amount, description, and number as a mandatory field. So what we can do, we have to handle them explicitly. We have to handle them explicitly. The simple easiest one is we can make them form validation true. So in the invoice here, what we can do is here on each and every attribute, invoice number, let us say you have a property called required as yes, no, required as true by default. You can make them as true. You can make them as yes. But like the problem in this one is it will raise a pop-up like a pop-up kind of thing. It will raise a pop-up kind of thing. So the users may not prefer that particular logic. Users may not prefer that one. So instead of that, what we do is you have to explicitly handle the button and raise the attribute level validation. Now if you observe for this invoice header ID, it is clearly telling you at the column level, right? So these things we call it as attribute level validation. These are called attribute level
Okay.
validation. So we can have this kind of validation for each and every particular item, and we can raise them appropriately in a bundled way.
Okay.
I'll show you that anyway. That is called bundled exception. Okay. So what I will do is I'll stop here. Like as of now, we just covered only the basic part, the create as well as delete part. So we have much more to work on. So Ganesh, it is a continuous class. Like once we finish, we can take some time break. But as of now, it is better that we have to continue this particular mini project, and maybe it may take 2 more hours to finish the total mini project. And after that, we can take a break.
Okay.
Okay.